evening. My special guest is Selvi. She is the communications leader for IBM in ASEAN. The International Business Machines Corporation, or better known to all of us as IBM, is one of the most recognized tech brands in history. So respected in the marketplace that there was a common refrain from IT decision makers that no one ever got fired for buying an IBM. Today, the brand is reportedly valued at over $20 billion. Selvi, on behalf of IPRS, I'd like to thank you for your membership with us, and I'd like to thank you very much for joining us today.
No, it's my pleasure, Marcus. It's very nice to get into the industry and talking to our peers. So the pleasure is all mine. And thank you for such a nice introduction to IBM.
Oh, thank you. So now let me give a brief introduction of Selvi for those of you who may not know her. Selvi brings with her over 20 years of experience in communications, and she spent virtually her whole career at IBM. Started in corporate communications, workforce enablement, digital growth strategy, where she was playing a global role to engage over 86,000 people in IBM's developer teams. Selvi is today communications leader for IBM in ASEAN. And on behalf of the IPRS Council, Selvi, I must say how proud we are that you are a graduate of the IPRS Professional Certificate Program.
Yes,
And congratulations on becoming one of less than 50 professionals in Singapore to be accredited by IPRS. So, Selvi, let me first ask you a question that is on a lot of people's minds about COVID-19. Organizations have responded to the crisis in many different ways. How has communications changed at IBM?
So, the face-to-face interactions has reduced very much. With IBM Marcus, things have been pretty smooth because when COVID hit and everyone transitioned to working from home, overnight, 300 over 1,000 employees in IBM did the switch, and it was very smooth, it was seamless. And so from a communications perspective, it was very smooth for us as well. We've been doing this, work from home since the 90s. So, and we've invested a lot in the tools and the technology. So that helped us. So from a comms perspective, it was the same. We were able to reach out to the media partners, our agencies, our clients, and almost everybody that we need to get in touch with was all done virtually. I've seen the previous sessions, right? There were some challenges with a lot of organizations. Fortunately for IBM and for IBMers, it was not that much of a challenge. And we continue to, help our clients. I think the number one priority was how do we help our clients? And that has been, the main focus. A lot of them, really needed help. They were stranded overnight. So IBM was there to help them. So from a comms perspective, we've been helping some of our client-facing teams on how they manage and reach out to their clients as well. So that comms has been quite instrumental in that way.
There are several members in our audience today who are actually owners or are leaders in communication agencies. For them, what do you think agencies can do to be positioned to be a strategic partner to IBM in ASEAN?
Sure. And, Marcus, I started my career with the agency as well. I used to work in boutique PR agencies, and then I used to work at Hill & Knowlton. And it gave me an excellent grounding in terms of, spreading my knowledge and my experience. Very often you're just thrown in the deep end and you just have to survive. And I always believe, and I always tell all my young colleagues or friends who are starting out, right, join an agency first. Get that experience, it builds such strength, and in the way you do things, it really broadens your mind. So I always advocate, join an agency, get that experience, then come in-house. And with agencies, the one value I really find with the agencies that I work with is, the creative part of what you can do. Because in-house, we are a very small and lean team. So the agencies act as our extended arms, sometimes as our extended brains as well. So, they bring a lot of creativity because they work with so many other clients. They're able to bring that knowledge and expertise from working with other clients. That's one I value. And the other thing I value very much in agencies is they have a deeper knowledge of what's happening in the industry, and they bring that when the agencies work with me, they bring that knowledge. And I really value that because there's only so much time in the day, and there's so much to do. And the real value that agencies can provide is that in-depth knowledge, what's happening in the industry. Every other day I will get an email from my agency partner, right? Selvi, this is happening. What is IBM's take on this? Can we do something around this? So that's two very valuable input that I value from the agencies.
IBM is a long-standing institution of the technology sector. Like before, it is undergoing yet another transformation. Recently, I think it reported a very strong second quarter revenue and profit number that had beat analysts' expectations.
Yeah.
Amid this change, IBM has also jettisoned some of its legacy business to focus on cloud computing, an area that has seen a lot of action in recent years. With the assumption of the position of your new CEO, how has the IBM brand narrative changed in tandem with all of these transformations?
So given I've always been here 19 years now, almost maybe 20, coming to 20 years. And over the time, I've served under quite a few CEOs, Lou Gerstner, Sam Palmisano, and Ginny Rometty, and now Arvind. So each of them have brought something very unique to the table. And at that time, when they were operating, that was key. So with Lou Gerstner and Sam Palmisano, they really took the services business to our clients, and they did a lot to help clients and build the expertise and the capabilities where services is concerned. And then Ginny Rometty came on board, and she had Smarter Planet. It was during her time, and we position ourselves as a solutions company because of a software business. So we position as a solutions company and very industry focused, because in our clients in the industry really needed solutions to their problems. And then with Arvind and with the whole cloud imperative, AI imperative, a blockchain, even quantum, right? So we've sort of evolved, and that's what we are focusing on right now. So along the way, even communications and our branding has been aligned with what the company wants to achieve. And I've been quite fortunate that the constant pace of change has been, it keeps me going as well, and constantly, learning new things. And for cloud, it was very difficult, but we get there. And so comms has to play a very instrumental role in this ever evolving branding that IBM has gone.
Disruption will continue to impact communication and the media sectors.
Yes.
And IBM has long been a media favorite. When IBM speaks, the media sits up and listens. Now, how has all of these change in the media landscape impacted the way IBM does brand stewardship?
We do have a strong branding, and we keep working in maintaining that leadership position. But we do also face stiff competition. There are smaller players, they're very nimble, they're able to do things that IBM sometimes, we are a big organization. So there are a lot of competitors out there, and we need to constantly keep ahead, right? Every new thing that comes in or is produced or is being offered, we need to quickly get the message out there. And in the olden days, Marcus, we didn't have a proper way of measuring ourselves. Right? When we do PR, right, when an article comes out, we look at the advertisement value and then say, okay, the PR article, the press release, or the print is, amounts to this. This is how we measure. But luckily, with technology today, we are able to measure our share of voice. So we have a tool that we use, and we constantly measure us against the competition. How we are, what's negative, what's positive, looking at the various sentiments. So technology has played a key role in how we have advanced in the way we communicate and in the way we deal with the media, our stakeholders. So that's one of the key things that I see, in a positive way.
What are some new skills that communication practitioners like us need to acquire so that we can thrive as a high performing member of the IBM communication team?
Sure. Based on my own experience, Marcus, initially, understanding the data, having the ability to gain insights from the data was a challenge. So over time, you had to do a lot of learning in order to understand. So I would recommend this to all our peers and our colleagues out there, right? Have some basic understanding. Today technology is something that we all embrace. You cannot get away. And what this COVID has taught us is going to accelerate now. The whole digital forum will accelerate. So all of us need to have some basic understanding how to read data. What is AI? How do you use analytics to apply to the work that you are doing so that you gain the insights? And have a bit of understanding about cloud. We are not going to use cloud, but I would say the basic would be analytics and the ability to gain insights from data. In fact, just recently we launched something with Singapore Skills Future, where we are helping mid-career professionals, right, who are out of work, what skills they need. They need to reskill. So we are looking at data and AI and helping them, right? They're all business professionals. When it comes to business, they know their stuff, but they need that additional help from an IT perspective so that, they are a lot more valuable and their ability to be rehired into the workspace will be good.
Selvi, you talk about skills future for mid-career professionals. I also understand that IBM is also big with supporting students, people who are still studying.
Yeah.
You have a PTech program
Yeah.
that you have launched. Tell us a little bit more about that and what IBM is doing to prepare students for the workforce of the future.
Sure. So this started in the United States where we were finding a challenge finding IT professionals. And then what we did was we went to the underprivileged, areas and started identifying students who needed help. So these students, in today's, in today's scenario, they may not be able to graduate with a degree. But what we've done is through PTech, by partnering with various academic institutions, and we bring our own curriculum as well, and then we partner with these students and we take them through a 6-year or 7-year period where they slowly, learn IT as well as the basic academic courses they go through, and they go through a 6-year period to earn a degree or a diploma. So what we've done in Singapore is we've partnered with the 4 institute ITEs, all the 4 ITEs, and we've also partnered with a lot of industry partners. Citibank, LinkedIn is in there, and Deloitte is one of our latest partners to come on board. And we take the students through a 6-year period, 6-year period to earn a diploma. And they learn cybersecurity, they learn data analytics, they learn AI, whatever that their interest is. And the last year we had 35 students, and this year we've just announced the second cohort, and we have 60 students. So it's growing, and we're very, very happy. The positive intake. You should see the students, how inspired and motivated they are, and that's what keeps us going.
Fantastic. And do these students secure a place or a job or an internship opportunity with these organizations who are part of the PTech program here?
Yeah, that's the ideal situation, Marcus. They are just the first year and the second year, so they have still some way to go. And ideally, they'll do very well, and hopefully the industry partners can take them on. In fact, Marcus, in the US, we just announced IBM globally is taking on 1,000 students, paid internship, providing paid internship. So it's very doable, and we are looking at the opportunities here as well.
Fantastic. Back to our conversation regarding PR and skills and communication of the future. We are also at the same time seeing the rise of non-traditional media platforms, influencers, content creators, opinion makers, who are not necessarily from the usual
Yeah.
marquee news outlets, right? What is IBM's approach in working with these non-traditional platforms, and how do you track value in working with these stakeholders?
I mean, you cannot run away with the social platforms these days. So what we are doing is, while we're working with all the traditional media, we also keep an eye on the various social platforms. Working with our stakeholders, it's just as important. And we have the same measuring types of tools, Marcus, where we measure our share of voice. And it's a constant, we need to constantly keep up with it. That's one of the challenge. While the opportunity is there, it's also the challenge. And we have a marketing team that drives that part of the business, and we work hand in hand with them in driving the share voice where social media is concerned. You cannot, in today's scenario, Marcus, you cannot do without, the other. So it's very much part of what I always have to think: media, social media, and what other channels, what other platforms are available. So we're constantly looking at that. And I think that's what today's communication professionals also need to do. Gone are the days where we can only just stick to certain channels and be done with it. But I think today's communication professionals need to widen their perspective and look at all channels and platforms.
Now, in working with experts internally, we know how delicate a process it can be. How has IBM's comms managed to earn its rightful place at the table in working and partnering with these experts within IBM?
So yeah, one episode I remember when I first joined IBM was, there were a lot of arguments, and I was like, why is it that I'm arguing with everyone in IBM? And then it dawned on me that all of these, they're experts in their own rights, and they believe in what they are doing. And so, I learned to accept that, when I first joined IBM. And by and large, Marcus, the communications is regarded very highly within IBM. And that's to, credit to our previous leaders, right? All the communications leaders being a strategic, partner to the business. So one thing that's drummed into us is that, we have to be the partner to the business and not do things on our own. Everything that we do supports that overall theme of what IBM wants to achieve. So I'm actually quite fortunate, because I have heard from some colleagues or peers in the industry where sometimes we are treated as editorial service providers, right? We write very well, but in IBM, communication is treated as a strategic business partner, and they do listen with value. And I think over the years we've built such a strong relationship that they do take our counsel, and it's taken very, very seriously. And so we've been fortunate in that sense. And
Okay.
I hope that helps, and more and more people will have that drive and be the strategic partner to their business as well.
So several years ago, the firm that I was working for, Ogilvy and Mather, had the privilege of partnering with IBM
Yes.
on Smarter Planet.
Yeah.
And it was a huge platform, right, that professed that by making things smarter, life gets better. Now, Selvi, things have changed. I mean, that was a good 8-10 years ago.
Yep.
Long time. If you had to articulate IBM's sense of purpose in the world today, what might that phrase be?
One thing that all of us are driven by is IBM stands for progress. That has always been the mantra from I think even during the Thomas Watson days. We've always known to advocate progress, be it in diversity, Marcus, be it in equal opportunity, be it when it comes to race and religion. So it's always been about progress, and that underpins everything that we do. So that's one of the way that we are consistent. When we go out there, you see IBMers as unique, because of that, principle that we follow. And then, of course, culturally, we have our own values, and which was actually defined by IBMers for IBMers. So everyone embraces that. So these are the things that continue to underpin the actions that we take today. So I'm motivated every day because of the work that IBM does and the kind of progress that we can actually bring. It sounds a bit cliche, but it's very much what we believe in and everything that we do.
No, not at all, not cliche at all, especially if it is totally embraced in
Yeah,
a genuine way by internal stakeholders like yourself, right? Like your teams. And on that note of being purpose driven, there is a growing segment of in society who value and cherish and are attracted to companies that are purpose driven. And these are our youths, millennials and the Zoomers in the market. These are people who will be graduating soon, some of them with communication degrees, some of them with degrees from other fields. Can you share with us some advice to these soon-to-be graduates who might be disillusioned with the current job climate? And if they'd like to join one day, to join IBM's comms team, what kind of advice would you give them?
sure. So maybe I'll take this as two parts, right? First is the throughout our history we've always had challenges, but human beings, we always overcome. So that's one of the advice I would give all new entrants, right? There's always opportunity to do better, and you will find it may take some time in this climate, but I am very confident they will be able to find something that they like doing. So that's one part. And then the second part would be they need to be cognizant of what's around them, and be bold and embrace, right? Embrace and adopt. To my point earlier, Marcus, why I enjoyed my time in the agency, because you're just thrown everything. You just have to accept and then get going with it. So that would be the advice I give the new graduates, right? Be ready, be open. I do find sometimes people they feel they stop themselves, right? They feel they're not able to do it, but my experience is sometimes we surprise ourselves.
Mm.
We do have the capability, we do have the fortitude to, if we push ourselves and step up. That would be my advice to the new graduates that's coming in. And in terms of the attitude, you said that IBM would look for. We are not looking for the best paper qualifications or the best grades. Yes, it's a benchmark, but we always look for something extra in the person. How innovative the person is, how creative the person is, how the person is able to think out of the box. I give you an example. Previously, we had one intern. He's from Cambodia. He can't speak English that well, but he's still, he was part of the marketing team. So every time when they want to put up something, they have to ask me for permission. So when he was asking, I say, what is it about? And I kept saying, no, 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 just for the fun of it, right? I kept saying, no, no, no. But this boy, he refused to move, and he just stood there and kept talking and talking and talking. That kind of perseverance he had, I admired. And this guy went on to do fantastic and great things. Marcus is from Cambodia. He wrote a book, he sold a book, he contributed to the community. Today he's in Japan and he's doing very, very well. So
Oh,
that's the
fantastic.
kind of perseverance I look forward to in our younger graduates. Have the tenacity and don't give up so easily.
Okay, I'm going to take one question from
Go
our
ahead.
chat, and it says, you spoke about qualities that you admire, such as resilience, but are there also qualities that you cringe at, that communications people sometimes do, that evokes that kind of a reaction?
Sure. Not knowing their stuff.
Mm.
very often I've seen people, they don't have the depth or the knowledge, and they just try to push things and thinking that the other person would not would be able to accept it. That I cringe a lot.
Hmm.
When people do that. And and honesty, I think when you already know when someone's not being totally truthful, I think that's something I cringe a lot. But generally I'm an easygoing person. So I just go with the flow.
Okay. And well, let me say this, that in addition to being somebody who is very nice and easy to get along with, you are also somebody who has been generous with your time. I understand that you're giving back not only to IPRS but other organizations like SINDA. Now, how has giving back to the community shaped you as a communication professional?
I mean, I'm very fortunate that, finally, I'm at a stage where I'm able to do all of this. I just put my mind to it and I decided, I want to do this. One of the things, how this came about, Marcus, is, you talked about employees or graduates having a meaningful career and, doing something purposeful. In IBM, we have this corporate service core. And if you meet a certain criteria, you get to go on this program. So you're sent to developing countries. So I went to Philippines in Davao. I spent 1 month there, and I worked with various organizations, helping them with their marketing, their communications, their branding, and it was such a fulfilling experience. Every single person who's gone through, we've done this for about 5 years now, 5 to 6 years. Thousands of IBMers have experienced it. New joiners, experienced people, all kinds. And when you do this service call, you have 8 other people from 8 different countries in IBM. So you also get to meet them and you network with them and you really get to understand people. But what was very meaningful was, the ability to help these developing countries and the organizations. So that stuck with me always. And so I always wanted to do that. And, I'm now so happy that I have finally am starting to do it in Singapore.
Fantastic, fantastic. And time has really passed us by. It's already 5:30. I promised to keep you for about for half an hour. But
Yeah.
but if you would permit me, I'd like to just pose one last question to you
Sure,
before we
Marcus, go ahead.
close. And my question is this: in this whole evolving landscape, where there is a rise in digital channels and communications is taking place in such a rapid pace,
Yeah.
what is the relevance of a convening body like IPRS, and what does it mean to be an accredited member of IPRS today to you?
Okay, so the first part, right? I've gone through the programs that IPRS started many years ago. So I was very pleasantly surprised when I met some of your colleagues, right? That IPRS has also started to evolve. And I was really looking forward to the anniversary where you're planning a big program. I was looking forward to that, but then COVID hit. And then what I value is that y'all were able to switch like that, right? And then with this, especially with this leadership webinar series, right? You were able to switch and you continue to deliver that value to people like me, people like a lot of people in the industry. I really value that, and I do come to IPRS for a lot of things, Marcus. So I'm looking forward to learning as well. I think it's very important. You've evolved, as like I said, I'm really pleasantly surprised that you all have evolved, so that's nice. And then in terms of the accreditation, this is something like I would really wanted to do for myself, right? And I've worked this many years. I've never really attempted to do anything else. And as the opportunity to give back is there, and the accreditation, I wanted to use the accreditation as a foundation to help me to do that. And I think it's very valuable, and I'm very proud that I'm part of it.
Thank you. Thank you very much for your generous words, Selvi. We are, as you know, mainly comprised of volunteers. We've got
Yeah.
an able secretariat team, but most of us are volunteers, and so we do count on the contributions of members like yourself to make a difference. And I think that's a great way to bring our conversation to a close today.
Sure.
Selvi, I'd like to thank you for speaking with me. And I know that the community will continue to be enriched by the contributions of thought leaders like yourself.